We can never forget these horrific images, part of our botched withdrawal from Afghanistan. We will never forget the aftermath of the suicide bombing that took out 13 of our soldiers, sailors, and Marines. And then when they came home in boxes, in coffins, and then we retaliated. Do you remember? We took out a suicide bomber in downtown Kabul. That's what we were told. Turns out that's wrong. We suspected as much. We reported earlier this week that it didn't go as they told us, and today it's official. We got the wrong guy. We got innocent people instead.
We now assess that it is unlikely that the vehicle and those who died were associated with ISIS-K or were a direct threat to U.S. forces. I offer my profound condolences to the family and friends of those who were killed. This strike was taken in the earnest belief that it would prevent an imminent threat to our forces and the evacuees at the airport. But it was a mistake, and I offer my sincere apology.
General Kenneth McKenzie, commanding general of the Central Command. We were wrong, and we were looking at a white Toyota Corolla, tracking it in Kabul. I've been in that part of the world. Every other car is a white Toyota Corolla. I could see how they would lose track, but this is really bad. And some are wondering, some of my Pentagon sources, if CENTCOM may have been under some political pressure and there may have been some itchy trigger fingers. More from General McKenzie.
At the time of the strike, based upon all the intelligence and what was being reported, I was confident that the strike had averted an imminent threat to our forces at the airport. Based upon that assessment, I and other leaders in the department repeatedly asserted the validity of this strike. I am here today to set the record straight and acknowledge our mistakes. I will end my remarks with the same note of sincere and profound condolences to the family and friends of those who died in this tragic strike.
Okay, setting the record straight. Not exactly. There was a press conference. I noticed that the general ignored questions that he didn't like, just ignored them. When did you know that innocent civilians were killed? We had been hearing for quite some time. CENTCOM, the Pentagon, put out a statement that no innocents were killed. These are the people, some of them, who were killed. A father who worked for a humanitarian organization and some children. You know, I knew something was up when I heard General Milley weeks ago talk about this. The bureaucratic language that he learned in Washington, the CYA vocabulary of a bureaucrat.
At the time, and I think this is still valid, we had very good intelligence that ISIS-K was preparing a specific type vehicle at a specific type location. We monitored that through various means, and all of the engagement criteria were being met. We went through the same level of rigor that we've done for years, and we took a strike.
There was just something peculiar about the careful choice of words and the tone. They were tracking, and it met the criteria. More.
We know that there were secondary explosions. Because there were secondary explosions, there's a reasonable conclusion to be made that there was explosives in that vehicle. The third thing is we know from a variety of other means that at least one of those people that were killed was a ISIS facilitator. So were there others killed? Yes, there are others killed. Who they are, we don't know. We'll try to sort through all that. But we believe that the procedures at this point, I don't want to influence the outcome of an investigation, but at this point we think that the procedures were correctly followed and it was a righteous strike.
No. And he knew it. He knew it. That's why he's being so careful. That's why he's being so guarded. This, by the way, is how a loser talks, who's trying to cover himself. This is how a winner talks when they just took out a terrorist.
Last night, the United States brought the world's #1 terrorist leader to justice. Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. He died like a dog. He died like a coward. The world is now a much safer place.
You miss those days? Because we're losing again. We're losing again. We were winning and now we're losing. Remember when he took out Soleimani? Iranian terrorist at the airport in Iraq. It was in the open. It was confirmed it was him. He took out a major terror leader, and the fake news cried about it.
Killing Soleimani would not have stopped an imminent attack any more than, I guess, killing Eisenhower would have stopped D-Day.
Is it safer today, or was it safer before Soleimani was killed? Just speaking today in terms of those Americans.
It was safer before Soleimani was killed.
They don't defend Soleimani, but they also don't think that a president should be an imperial president and just assassinate people whenever he damn well feels like it when there's not an imminent threat.
You can understand that Soleimani was a bad person.
Sure.
But you also can want the administration, or at least to hold them accountable, to give the evidence of how it was imminent, because you heard the president saying, well, we stopped him from doing some bad things. Well, where's the evidence of that?
Did you hear the one guy say, the world was safer with this terror leader in it than with him dead? This is how much they hated Trump. This is how dishonest they are. By the way, tonight on the news or over the weekend, newspapers, online, go around the dial, check it out. See how much you hear of his press conference. Ken McKenzie, General, United States Marine Corps, CENTCOM, apologizing for a botched strike. See it. Try it. How big would this have been under Trump? How small will it be under Joe Biden? So we are losing overseas, and we are losing at home. Have you seen the new batch of illegal immigrants? They're from Haiti. I knew many were coming from Mexico, Central America, South America, now from Haiti. Look at this. This is over 10,000 on the border. Texas, I think this is Del Rio. The media have been silent on this. In fact, I went through everything, all the majors, and they leave out the Haitian equation for some reason. You know who brought it to light very effectively, of all people? Senator Ted Cruz. He did a fabulous job laying out the issue and what's happening. They used to rely on the networks and the newspapers to do this stuff, but the senator did it, and he did it well.
We're in Del Rio, Texas. It is September 16th. This is underneath one bridge. 10,503 illegal aliens. A mass of humanity that has crossed and is waiting to come into America. The reason they're here is simple. 8 days ago, the Biden administration made a political decision. A political decision to cancel deportation flights to Haiti. They did that on September 8th. 8 days later, these numbers appeared. On September 8th, underneath this bridge, there were between 700 and 1,000 people. But when the word got out that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were no longer deporting people who came from Haiti, suddenly everyone who was here called their friends, called their family, and the numbers surged to 10,503. That's what's here today. It is more than the capacity of the Border Patrol to handle. This is the result of a political decision. This is a result that is indefensible. What we are seeing here, this is wrong. This is inhumane. And this is entirely caused by Joe Biden and Kamala Harris.
It was kind of hard to hear at times, but that is compelling and directly related to something that Joe Biden did and Kamala Harris very recently, ceasing the deportation. Well, that's a big story, right? They're doing what they can to kill it, to minimize it. Take a look at this. All aspects of the federal government cooperating. A temporary no-fly zone has been declared in that area. Now, there's nothing sensitive there. There's not a presidential summit there. Why? Well, they don't want drones from news organizations flying over and capturing the scene from the air. Now, fortunately, they don't control local police or even all aspects of Border Patrol, who have helicopters and aren't afraid to let journalists ride along. But they did try to kill this story. Hey, by the way, you saw those huge crowds. You think they're getting vaccinated? No. Joe Biden wants mandatory evacuations for everybody except, well, certain constituencies. And don't forget, they're always going to push that those who are most reluctant to take the vaccination are Trump supporters. That's fake news, by the way, but boy, do they love that narrative.
Half of Americans, half of Republicans who supported Donald Trump don't want to take the vaccine.
One segment of the population remains steadfast in their opposition to getting a vaccine. Republicans.
47% of the people who supported Donald Trump were against getting the vaccine.
Okay, that is fake news. The numbers do not bear that out, not by a long shot. You know who's not getting the vaccination? Well, illegal immigrants, communities of color, it's true, and millennials, young people. They are resistant for whatever reason. Here in New York City, we have a health department, and quite frankly, for all the crazy things they do, they recognize that communities of color are resistant to the vaccine, and they try to fix that with a public service announcement, a whole bunch of them actually.
I chose to get vaccinated because I want to protect myself, I want to protect my family. It's the right thing to do. You have to be safe at all times.
I really feel more secure, more comfortable going out there.
Man, go down, roll your sleeve up, and get that shot, you know?
So, you know what? I don't mind a campaign like this, although I got something to point out. One thing about this spot that's pretty good, actually, that first gentleman, he says, I choose to get it. I choose to get it. I like that. It is a choice. A choice. I do like what this woman said. A nurse, I believe she's in Tennessee, and she says it all right here. There is risk. And what do you do when there's risk? Do you make it mandatory? I don't think so.
And I'm just standing here with all of you because if there is a risk of harm, there should be choice in the matter.
If there's risk, there should be choice in the matter. She's in West Virginia, by the way. I totally agree. You won't see her in a public service announcement, though. You'll see her in a random video on Instagram that will probably be deleted if it hasn't been already. They don't want this side of the equation out. Even if you're famous, even if you're Nicki Minaj, the singer. Look, I only know one of her songs. I don't know much about her. The song, though, is not so bad, although there are plenty of bad words. Anyway, I'm not a music critic. She has doubts about the vaccine. One of her relatives, she says, got into trouble with this thing, had a bad reaction. And man, they're after her in a big way. And she's speaking out very powerfully.
What in the world scared y'all that much that made you disable my Twitter? I have not put out anything that I said was a fact about anything. I simply said we should be able to ask questions and speak. And it's scary when they start telling you you can't ask questions about anything.
Hey, Nicki Minaj. There's more.
The Democratic Party in general and so many people jumping at the chance to, okay, well, we can't make fun of the actual story anymore and talk about testicles and balls till they drop dead and make that a joke. So now we have to attack her personally. I want you guys to see what is happening. And they had to make sure it came from a black person first, because if it came from a white person, the black people were like, oh, you're racist in this. So let's peep this. The first attack was from a black woman.
Yeah, she's talking about Joy Reid over there on MSNBC. She is a full-fledged bigot, by the way, Joy Reid. Look, Nicki Minaj is onto something. If they'll give a citizen, her, anybody else, a hard time about talking about their own personal experiences, that's dangerous. That is really, really dangerous because MSNBC, the left, they want you to think everybody is feeling this way. It's not true. But again, with, only for our kids, our kids, our kids, our kids, not everybody is going to be on the same page.
Right now, our district, we don't have any mitigation efforts in place for COVID, which is making a lot of teachers very nervous.
Well, I have an entire school of children who cannot be vaccinated yet. I have to do everything I can to keep them as safe as possible.
I have a 6th grader who's not vaccinated, and I don't feel safe, for her to have lunch together with hundreds potentially of other kids who are also not vaccinated.
I think we need to educate our students, and I've taken the time to educate mine.
All right, forgive me, but I suspect that there are some teachers out there who would love the summer vacation to continue, right? I mean, not working and getting paid, that's a pretty sweet deal. Not all teachers think like this, and I know a lot of teachers are anxious to get back there in the classroom. And guess what? They don't want to be, some of them, vaccinated or told that they have to be vaccinated. That's not American. Nobody really wants that. At least, I don't know. I think that's the American spirit that I grew up with. Mandatory? A new vaccine? Anyway, these folks turned out here in New York City, teachers protesting mandatory vaccination plans for teachers. Listen to this.
No forced COVID vaccines for adults or children.
All right, this was a significant turnout, actually, in New York City, liberal town. But hey, who's the ultimate authority on this, right? According to the fake news, the one man in America who commands universal respect?
We will be answering questions that you sent in about how to keep our kids safe, and who better to give us answers that we can trust than Dr. Anthony Fauci.
Who better that we can trust? Why do they like him? Why do they trust him? Because he used to give it to Donald Trump, because he tried to trip him up every step of the way. Look, we don't trust that guy. We don't trust any of you. We're adults. We have access to the information, okay? The elites have failed us again and again and again. And look at this. This says it all. I found this on social media. Take it full if you don't mind. The elites, no mask, having fun at a party. Your child, That says so much. So much is wrong right now.
You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news channel, now in more than 70 million homes. You can get Newsmax TV on your cable system or check your cable guide. And if your system doesn't carry Newsmax, call them, tell them you want Newsmax TV, because we're real news for real people.